The module we're about to begin is entitled General Security Principles. In this part of the seminar, we will discuss the so-called 10 Immutable Laws of Security, created in 2000 by Scott Culp from the Microsoft Security Response Center. We will look into the principles, or laws, which you see in the slide above one by one. We'll also try to determine whether principles created 12 years ago are still valid. When they were published, they sparked a heated discussion in the IT security circles. The principles were praised by some for their universal message. However, many thought that these rules were an attempt to shift responsibility for bugs in the Microsoft Windows software from the company to the users and administrators. The first law states, if a bad guy can persuade you to run his program on your computer, it's not solely your computer anymore. Please remember that these laws were created in 2000 when Windows 98 was the most widely used system and Millennium and NT versions were rarely chosen. The bugs of previous versions of the system were fixed in Windows 2000. Both Windows 95 and 98 were simply unsecurable. Nor were they stable. Any program you ran on these systems took control over it. If the program was faulty and happened to crash, the whole system crashed with it. Neither of the systems gave you the possibility to preempt the strike. There were no access control lists, no user privileges. That's why the first law is particularly important for Microsoft. It turns out that this principle is still valid. In modern operating systems, there are a few security boundaries, that is, mechanisms which limit and restrict programs' operations. To this day, no program or process has such a boundary. One process can modify the data used by another process, and a process started by the administrator can even modify the system data. Even today, users don't exercise much control over running programs. We trust that a program does what we want it to. This is the main reason why you have to be very cautious when starting programs from unreliable sources, such as the internet or peer-to-peer networks. Surfing the internet, you have to be cautious with even well-known and potentially safe websites. Please note that we usually download programs through the HTTP protocol. This means that it's possible to modify the data during the transmission. For instance, the way the program works can be changed. The program can work appropriately in the web browser, but the copy you download may be infected with a Trojan, which will start when you launch the program. Such types of attacks are well known and well documented. It's very hard to protect your computer against them. Administrators may introduce measures that would allow users to start only trusted programs. In the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the Internet Explorer running in the safe mode. This means it's running in its own virtual environment. This protects the operating system from possible modifications that could be introduced without the user's knowledge. This solution will only protect you against Internet threats, such as iframe cookies. It won't stop you, however, from opening a file that you downloaded from the Internet. The first law is still valid. The consequences of an attack can be limited if you run the programs on an account with administrator privileges. In particular, you shouldn't do that when it comes to programs that communicate with untrusted computers.